Morning all. How you diddly doing? Right. Okay, from the excellent news we had a few days ago of Trump, right? With the puberty blockers. Wales goes utterly bonkers. Here we go. Become a warrior teacher. Buy me a coffee, the usual. Anything to keep me going. Come on, folks. We're on a roll, except in Wales. Hello, Wales. How is everybody doing? A beautiful country, populated by beautiful people with a terrible government. Puberty blocker ban in Wales, unlawful. Politician. And this is from the Bubbaker. Useless bunch of wazzocks. Here, did you see? They want people that watch Netflix and Amazon and all that sort of stuff to have to pay the BBC licence even if they don't watch it. This government is utterly used. Talk about fiddling while Rome burns. The house is on fire. Yeah, I'm going to put out the fire on the shed. They're just nuts. So here we go. This is from David Deans, the political reporter. The Welsh government broke its own law in how it banned puberty blockers for under 18s, questioning their gender identity, a former Plaid Cymru leader has claimed. After a review found a lack of evidence in the medicine's long-term impact. It didn't find just a lack of evidence. The whole thing was a nightmare. Look, they're talking about CAS. NHS GPs in Wales were barred from making new prescriptions in line with other UK nations. An expert group says they pose an unacceptable safety risk. Do you think Trump's just banned it across the board? Do you think that's unacceptable? Do you think WPATH will push him being a eunuch? Do you think these people want to offer nullification surgeries? Do you think these people don't have the best interests of children at heart? You bet it's an unacceptable safety risk. But Adam Price and the country's children's commissioner, Rocio Quefentes, said the government should have assessed the impact on children that might have been affected. They should have assessed the impact on children that might have been affected. Right, the impact on children is they won't be put on a train that needs to have your genitals mutilated. That's the impact on children. Utterly ridiculous. Puberty blockers are licensed to treat early onset puberty in children. Of course, that makes perfect sense. You start puberty at 5, it's a good idea to pause it and then start it again. It doesn't work when you try to stop a natural thing from happening in a natural way. But over the past decade, there has been significant increase in demand for them to be given to children and young people suffering gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria doesn't exist. We need to stop mentioning it. It's bodily identity integrity disorder at best, and it's certainly a symptom in all cases of a much larger malaise or a comorbidity. That's what we're seeing coming from the psychology people who are in the know now, and also from the medical industry. Last year, a review by paediatrician Dr. Hilary Cass, one of the most extensive, brilliant, and certainly one of the strongest that's ever been done, is a review. Last year, a review by paediatrician Dr. Hilary Cass found a lack of evidence around treatment for under 18s with the drugs. She said in 2024 there was a lack of evidence they were safe to use to arrest puberty, and that it had been unusual to give a potentially life-changing treatment to young people and not know what happens in adulthood. Unusual. One young trans man, they mean a woman who has begun transitioning as an adult, told BBC Wales she, not he, BBC, believed puberty blockers could have helped her avoid the trauma that has come with living in a body that never felt like it was mine. Yeah, just obviously something wrong, isn't there? The Welsh Conservatives backed the Welsh government position, however. NHS England announced in March they would not be routinely prescribed. And in December, a ban on private prescriptions was made permanent by the UK Government Health Secretary, Wes Streeting. The Commission on Human Medicines has also recommended indefinite restrictions, saying there was an unacceptable safety risk in the continued prescription. The drugs are now only available if a patient is part of a clinical trial, which the UK government has promised, and we're going to stop, by the way, or if a patient was already receiving them. The Welsh Government also introduced regulations last year restricting their prescription by Welsh NHS GPs. In December, Price attempted to have the regulations scrapped, raising concerns ministers had not followed the legal obligation to give due regard to the UN Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, enshrined in Welsh law in 2011. Well. Colour me surprised the UN are involved. We need to get out of all these ridiculous things, the WHO, the UN, all that nonsense. In a Senate debate, Price said no impact assessment was written. The impact assessment, you unbelievably stupid individual, was CAS. That's the impact assessment. No matter how much these mentally ill people scream for it, they shouldn't get it. Something the government's own guidelines says officials should use to ensure ministers follow the law. Price told BBC Wales, "I think it is clear that the government have acted unlawfully. They need to set out with some urgency how they intend to rectify this mistake, and most importantly, engage meaningfully with this group of children and young people whose rights deserve to be respected and whose voices should be heard." No, 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 we end it. The whole thing ends. It's absolutely ridiculous. This group of children and young people. They always use that term young people when they mean children. And it's very weird, I think. Weird. Right? Truth of the matter is, it's children, those under 18. They don't know their own mind. Certainly not enough to be able to say, yeah, take away my sexual function. I won't need it for the next 70 years or 80 or 90 years, however long it is they're going to live now. It's just impossible. It's not a mistake. We're not rectifying a mistake that wasn't made because there was no mistake. You end it. He argued that children and young people might have been able to raise the absence of a clinical trial. But asked if he was opposed to the ban, Prince said it was not for him to give a view on clinical questions. Funny that, isn't it? Funny that, lunatic. The question here is whether the proposed proper legal process was followed and whether the rights of those children and young people were fully respected and whether their voices were heard. Just absolute nonsense their voices were heard. Absolute nonsense. You don't experiment on bloody humans. What's the matter with you? Ugh. And then we've got a picture of somebody called Gwen Williams, who's a woman pretending she's a bloke. Gwen Williams began the medical transition in adulthood. So here we go. This is what the BBC does. Oh, look. Here's an example and the terrible things that would have happened. It's just nonsense. Began her medical transition in adulthood, having struggled to obtain help via the NHS. Having struggled to obtain help via the NHS. It's interesting wording, isn't it? When she was under 18. Miss Williams said she was referred to child and adolescent mental health services, but it had dismissed my claims of feeling dysphoric. Through her persistence, the service applied for funding to get a referral to a former Tavistock clinic. But because she was 17 and 9 months, she was disqualified. See how it's done, BBC? I had to go through the negativity of being told that I was making it all up. You were making it all up, love. You were. Right? You weren't born in the wrong body. There's no such thing. Right? It's just nonsense. There's something else in the background, isn't there? We know this now. It's just so blatantly obvious to anybody who's paying attention. It's just so obvious. I had to go through the negativity of being told that I was making it all up just to be told I was right the entire time. Nobody told you were right the entire time. Nobody. And I wasn't qualifying for waiting lists. So I had to start the procedure all over again to get to the adult clinic. Yeah, that's the next thing to go. She said the Welsh government should have reached out to both professional and trans adults and their families. No. 1 minute, this other guy, Price, says, it's not for me to make medical decisions. The next minute, the BBC are saying that we should be asking the bloody patient what treatment they should be having. Absolute nonsense of the first order. I get fed up with this nonsense. I go to the doctors, right? The doctor says, right, okay, this is the situation. You've got your bum's collapsing, you've had a prolapse, it's down by your knees. You want to do something about it or no? What do you think we should do? I said, well, I think you should give me a tap on the head and some opium. No problem, I'll do the prescription now. It's absolutely insane. Utterly nonsense. And do you know what's driven by all this crap of, well, what do you think we should do? It's driven by bloody compensation claims. Yeah. Right, so he said reach out to trans views, blah, 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 but without a gender service for young people. Miss Williams said Wales was severely lacking support for genderqueer youth. Absolutely in the cult. Genderqueer youth. In the cult, hook, line, and sinker, right? Now, go and watch the rest of it. Watch it. Go and look and have a read of the rest of it. It's all there for you to see. Other than that, become a warrior teacher, buy me a coffee, do the usual. Now, get out of my face. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.